Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You got the Pokemon Professor here, and today I'm bringing you your Week 2 matchup for the BBR Summer Scramble. You like how I said your Week 2 matchup? Oh man, you know my Week 2 matchup, but I guess I'll put you in the audience if you made it this far. But if you did miss Week 1, we did catch a dub, so hopefully trying to just roll off that piggyback that momentum, I guess I was trying to say. I played Novaxblader this week, somebody I've never played, so always exciting to do something like that. He's a pretty threatening team. He's got the Tera Teal Mask Ogerpon, which gets the +1 speed every time it comes in. I mean, for fuck's sake, dude, I think that's just ridiculous. It does have to stay grass type, so that's something we can keep in mind. He has the Urshifu Rapid Strike, Zapdos, Slowking Galar, another one. God damn it. Hitmonlee, Grogonal, Vikavolt, and Rampardos. You know, again, I'm expecting the first 5. And then either Grogonal or Vikavolt. You know, I could see Grogonal trying to be bulky, freeze dry, speed and coverage, rapid spin, recover, or some nonsense. And then Vikavolt could try to, get up webs. Either way, they're going to be a pain in the ass. But that's what I'm prepping for. So as you can see on screen, my team, I'm bringing that fucking heater. That little catch you off guard Bruce Lee. Tera Rock this week with the protective pads and limber. You ain't catching me slipping. The protective pads and limber, protective pads for Heatran. In case I do get it knocked off by the Ogerpon. May not happen, but I'd rather it just not. And then the limber, obviously, for the static and things like that. Tera Rock Hitmonlee puts in a lot of offensive pressure against his team. Fake Out's there specifically just for some chip damage against, the Ogerpon. If it just sets up, comes in, gets a +1 speed, and gets +2 attack with a Swords Dance, and he's bulky or some nonsense. Or even worse, he comes in, gets a +1 speed, and gets a fucking Trailblaze boost. It's a threat. So I like the Fake Out just to apply a little bit of pressure. Close combat, it hits a lot of his team for some solid damage. The Grogonal, Rampardos, Urshifu doesn't really want to take it, neither does Ogerpon. And Zapdos doesn't want to take that into a Terra Blast Rock. We are running enough speed to outrun something like a bulky set, so that could be pretty cool to catch him off guard. Also, the Vikavolt could be an initial switch in. We do have to tell him on Terra Rock at the beginning, but my plan is just to lead this thing in case he wants to lead the Vikavolt, and then just hit some shit real hard, real early on. That's my game plan. Just try to break early with Bruce Lee. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to Dragon Deez Nuts on his face. I'm running the Weakness Policy, Levitate, Recover, Stored Power, Agility, and Aura Sphere. Real wonky as fuck little set here. Basically, with the +2 speed, with this speed EV, I outrun +1 Ogerpon even when he switches back in. If I get the Weakness Policy with the Agility, running enough special attack EVs to, I think, Oko something like a Spadef Glow King after rocks from full. And then or maybe it's, I don't know, max HP from full or some shit. Aura Sphere is just there to hit something like the Heatran if he's Spadef bulky and we know Store Power isn't going to hit him. Aura Sphere is going to bop. And this is my late game win con. Basically, I want to wear some stuff down or try to lure him for maybe a Shadow Ball or a U-turn on the Rapid Strike, U-turn on the Zapdos, and just really apply a lot of pressure to this guy. Max defense to take something like a U-turn or a knockoff as best as I can from the Ogerpon if he's not choice banned, and just, fucking drag my nuts across his face apparently. Next is Grandpa, the Choppleberry Iron Bundle this week. Real silly set. I like doing all this stuff. Max defense with my Choppleberry. If he's protective pads, we have a chance to live from Jolly on the Urshifu Rapid Strike from a CC, and then pick up the KO in the Freeze Dry. Again, this thing just outspeeds so much of his team. If I can get rid of that Slowking Galar and that fucking Grogonal if he brings it, I'm just going to be applying a lot of offensive pressure. Just hitting stuff hard and forcing switch-ins, getting the rock chip damage on stuff, and hopefully luring everybody in a position to where Dragon Deez Nuts can pick up some KOs, or I can just click Ice Beam next time and not have to worry about the Hydro Pump. But Rocks is going to be really big this match, so I'm bringing in Sea Hammer. Sorry. We'll obviously get up rocks, play rough, gigaton hammer, and knockoff. Really went bulky this week just to try to take stuff from the rapid strike. Also gives me something to switch into the ogre pawn should I let my Lily Lou. Shoutouts to you if you know who Lily Lou is. We should be friends because I know who Lily Lou is. But just hit some stuff for hard, get a knockoff off, get some boots off on the Zapdos, maybe get boots off, or like I said, a choice scarf on the Heatran. For whatever reason, I'm really fearing Scarf Eruption. So if I could get a scarf or a specs off of that thing, that could be really, really nice. And then Gigaton Hammer and Play Rough. I mean, I'm just gonna hit. I'm gonna hit you. So hopefully MC Hammer brings the hammer. And then here's my sweet baby angel Lily Lou this week. Protective pads, Queenly Majesty. Again, if we get the rapid spin boost off, we'll be outspeeding the Urshifu. So just being able to prevent that thing for going for something like the Aqua Jet for Chip, or even an Ice Shark from Cryogonal, oddly enough. U-turn, triple axle, pedal blizzard, and rapid spin. Basically, this is my Ogre Pawn check. We can take a bunch of IP cudgels. We can fucking just keep munching on them. And I expect something like the Zapdos, like the Slowking Galar, like the Heatran to be the switch-ins to Lily Lou every so often. Triple Axle, I'm going to be able to hit the Zapdos for some solid damage. Also hit Slowking Galar depending on the spread and how much health he's taking. But a lot of the times this thing's going to be rapid spinning and then U-turning out, or just U-turning out depending on where I'm at. And then just try to bring in one of my more offensive pieces from there. And then my last one this week that I'm bringing the Elephant. I give myself a headache trying that. Running the Assault Vest. Kind of bulky. I got the AV and some Spadef, and that's to live something like the Eruption or the Lava Plumes from Heatran. Again, rapid spin. I really don't want webs up. I really don't. You know, it doesn't hurt necessarily my Wendys Nutz, but I don't want webs up. That's going to put me on my back foot real early on. So I need to be able to keep those things off. Also gives me at the +1 speed, being able to hit something like the Ogre Pawn with Ice Spinner for some solid damage. Now granted, if he Teras, I mean, we're fucked. But it doesn't, I guess at any point if he had Tera, because he comes back in. So really, I guess this speed's just here for the Urshifu. Or maybe the Zapdos, something like that. But we don't question it. We don't question it. Offensive, you know, Stone Edge going to be able to hit that Zapdos, which I expect to be an initial switch in. Also hits the Cryogonal and the Vikavolt. Rock ground, Edgequake, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Coverage is naturally so good. And against this team, it just seemed to be really, really nice. So running it on the Elephant and the Bruce Lee, EQ, just hit some stuff for some big damage. And yeah. No, I really like this team. I really like Wendys Nutz. I really, really fucking want this agility weakness policy to pop off. So, you know, prayers up to Base God. Hopefully it does. But I'll catch you guys in the match. Peace. Alrighty, so here we are with our week 2 matchup. As we can see, Novaxblader really brings everything we expect. He does elect to bring the Vikavolt this week instead of the Cryogonal. So maybe want to lead that with webs. Could see him leading something like the Heatran. Sorry, I'm moving my mic. Could see him want to bring something like the Heatran, try to pressure rocks. But either way, we have the Hitmonlee as our dedicated lead. That sounded like an alliteration, or not an alliteration, a little rhyme. Lead. English teachers better watch out. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. But we can see he just elects to lead with his Ogre Pawn. And here, you know, I've got a free fake out. I need chip damage off on this thing. Any kind of damage I can get on this thing is going to be huge. And I know that I can get the fake out off. And then I have something like my Serena, which is just going to be a continuous switch in for the majority of the game. So I really like that. I really like just nickel and diming this thing away, because whenever I play this match, I realize that in body aspect, happens every time it switches in. It's not just a one and done kind of thing. So really happy I brought some defensive play, and if we let Serena go down, we have the Tinkaton, which could take one if it doesn't get flinched. I think it can even take a +2 Ivy Cudgel. But alas, why worry, right? I just go ahead and bring in the Serena. I mean, he could go for the U-turn straight up, but at the same time, I felt like Ivy Cudgel's just so free, especially with me being Tera Rock. So I just hard switch into Miss Lily Lou. Ooh. And from here, I just want to go for the U-turn. I'm expecting something like the Heatran to be the initial switch in. But at the same time, I'm trying to does he set up? But doing my damage calc, I felt that U-turn is just so free because I can pick up a KO with fake out the following turn, or if I get up rocks and he's not boots. So I go for the U-turn, and he actually goes hard Zapdos. And I just was baffled. I was like, man, what if I just click that triple axle? Because you saw that you weren't doing any damage, and knockoff wasn't going to be able to do as much or anything. So caught me off guard there. But U-turning, I did go back out into the Bruce Lee. We are very offensive. We're jolly, almost max speed, so we can't outspeed something like a zero speed EV Zapdos. So I'm just going to go for my Tera Rock as he goes out into the Hypnose, the Slowking Galar. And as we can see on this thing, just based off that damage, he's looking like something max HP. So I'm kind of thinking Assault Vest at this point. It could definitely be something like Boots and just max HP and some other bulk or something. But here, I realize that I need to get up rocks. I want to be able to chip something like this. Like the Ogerpon, break a sash on anything, and if that Vigavolt isn't boots, that's going to be huge. And just in case we let our Bruce Lee, Jesus, go down. Rock Lee would be really good for a name there, especially with him being Tera Rock. So I bring out all MC Hammer, and he just elects to click Psychic. Not doing too much. And here, really just go for the rocks, I don't see him doing too much. If he has a Fire Blast, so be it. If he had an EQ, so be it. But he Chilly Reception's out. I'm guessing thinking he could take the knockoff or something like that, which he could have. But we get up rocks for free. So that's something that's going to be really nice. And I'm thinking here he goes Heatran, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he's got a pretty free Heatran. He applies some offensive pressure. So, Nuck if you buck. Yep, Nuck if you buck. But he does take rock damage, and here we see his leftovers. So my thought process of Scarf Eruption isn't as potent, isn't as there, I guess is the best way to describe it. But still, I don't want to take something like a Magma Storm or Lava Plume. So I go hard into my Elephant. And he does click Magma Storm, which he misses. Now we are AV, but granted, I don't want to take something like Magma Storm into Protect for a couple turns and just chip damage. So big miss, it is unfortunate. And I go for the Stone Edge. Reason being is he has both a Vikavolt and a Zapdos. So there's really no reason why he would just want to go for the 50-50 on the EQ. And this edge does connect with the Zapdos, and we get a crit. Big damage there, big damage. And here, I'm just doing some damage calcs. Can I pick up the KO with the spin? Can I force that Ogerpon back in to take more chip damage? He goes for a Hurricane over Roost. So we do eat that with our AV, and we go for the spin and see he is Helmet. So taking a little bit more damage on my Elephant than I wanted, but we are at +1 speed at this point, so we are going to be able to outspeed something like the Rapid Strike if he's not Scarfed, and really everything else on his team. His team's pretty slow. I mean, he does have the Ogerpon Embody aspect, so that thing's going to be able to outspeed almost 90% of the game upon switch in with that built-in Choice Scarf. But we can at least force that thing in. But instead he goes Mustard, the first time we've seen it. And because he is coming in hard Mustard, I'm thinking he's either Scarfed or he's going to try to go for the Jet, and maybe he's Banded. So taking a look at my team, trying to see what everybody is. I know I've got some switch-ins in MC Hammer. But if I do that, that pretty much just allows something like the Heatran back in. And I really don't want to take rocks with my Serena. So I just like to go for the EQ, see if he's going to lock himself into Jet, or see if he's Scarfed, because I felt like that would be the best play. And from here, I got a free grandpa. I get a free freeze dry at this point. Because either he is going to be locked into Aqua Jet through Band or through Scarf, or if he was Protective Pads, meaning he's not scarfed into something like CC. So I know I'm going to be able to outspeed the following turn, or just take Aqua Jet damage and then pick up a KO with Freeze Dry. So I felt like letting Elephant down there, or go down, wasn't the worst of things. I still have like EQ for the Heatran and Glow King through other means. So I just click the Freeze Dry here. I get negligible damage, dude. Like negligible damage. Basically, this is like when you walk outside and it's snowing and your wiener goes inside of your body. That's how much damage I got. So I just go for the pump. I go for the pump because I know I'm still going to be able to apply pressure to the Urshifu with like my Latios. So I'm not as worried, and big damage off on this thing could be huge. And I go for the pump, I hit as he misses another Magma Storm. And I'm like, dude, you better start praying or something, because that just sucks. 0-for-2 on the Magma Storm. Man, I know Magma Storm misses, but so does Hydro Pump. But not for Grandpa. He got that fucking bifocals on, man. Look at those things. He just be out here hitting, and we hit all right. We fuck up the Heatran. I was surprised it lived one, so it showed he was really bulky. So the Magma Storm misses is not something that like... I mean, yeah, it did damage, and especially with him having Protect. I like that Whirlpool damage on the Grandpa, so I respect the Magma Storm on the Tran. I get it, man. But at the end of the day, just big damage off on that thing, being able to pick up the KO. He goes hard out into his Vikavolt at this point, and I'm trying to calc, like, can I take something like a Bug Buzz from Vikavolt on my Latios? Because I really want that thing to be able to set up. I really want that weakness policy. So I flip turn out, I get a crit, which it's a crit on a flip turn, and it's not too much damage, but it is some damage. But it turns out I'm not able to take a Vikavolt Bug Buzz, even with like being super bulky on my Latios. So I just go hard out into my MC Hammer after the flip turn. I take the Bug Buzz, doesn't do much to that thing, which is nice. And here, what do I go for? I think a Play Rough. Yeah, I think I'm looking at everything. It's like Heatran's down, Play Rough is free, but also if he wants to switch in, do I click the knockoff? But I felt Play Rough just because if he went out into the Ogre Pond, it did a little bit more, and I didn't lose that like immediate momentum. So I get the Play Rough off. We saw it take rocks damage, so I think it dies upon rocks next time. And he just Volt Switches out of there. And goes back out into Ella, which is the Teal Mask. Yeah. So right here, he brings in the Ogre Pond Teal Mask, and at this point, it's kind of like a 50-50 in my opinion. I'm trying to decide, do I click the Gigaton Hammer, or do I just go into my switch in of Lily We haven't seen him click anything like an SD yet, or even a Trailblaze. I think he's only clicked one move every time. So in my mind, I'm trying to decide, is he Scarfed? Because the Scarf would give him that initial jump on something like the Booster Iron Grandpa, which could be very problematic for him. But we go into the Lily, and again, he just clicks Ivy Cudgel. And at this point, I just go for the Triple Axle. I know I'm going to be able to pick up a KO if he stays in and tries to get aggressive, or if he clicks something like a knockoff, or even a U-turn, we could pick up some good damage on something else, but it just sacks the Vikavolt, which makes sense. So he's got the IV Cudgel, the Rapid Strike, and the Slowbro at this point. It does go hard out into the Slowbro. I don't really need to let Lulu go down at this point, trying to decide what I can switch into. So I think I'm just going to U-turn out into something like my Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, oddly enough, has some pretty decent SPDF. So I know I'm going to be able to take something like a Sludge Bomb or a Psychic or Psychic Noise, because looking at the damage calcs, he is very bulky. Very bulky. So I just go hard Bruce Lee. He lays up his Toxic Spikes, which I don't want to say it doesn't make too much sense. It does make sense. He knows I'm pads on both things at this point, because I haven't taken any kind of Rocky Helmet chip damage, which he has shown to be on the Zapdos, or told me after the match. So I get the T-spikes, but I just felt it was a little late in the game. So I just fire off a big EQ, and he shows to be very bulky because he ate that. I know Bruce Lee isn't like super, super strong, but you know, hell, I thought I'd do a little bit more. I guess maybe some wishful thinking. But I get another free EQ at this point. Nothing wants to switch in. Even if he goes Ogre Pawn, like I'm still getting good damage off on this thing. And he just goes Rapid Strike. So I fire off another EQ. I get big damage off. And here, I just think I have to stay in. I can't really let this thing set up. I need to be able to apply some pressure. If he sets up an SD, I don't need him to go for the SD Trailblaze. So I need to at least get some big damage off on this thing. And if he goes for the SD, I can bring Hitmonlee back in later and go for some fake out shenanigans, get some damage. But he just U-turns out into the Clobro as I could do nothing with CC, nothing. But I'm going to go for another EQ because he's taking a lot of damage at this point, a lot of damage. And he just chilly receptions back out. So just consistently chipping down his team. I have 1 health left. With T-spikes, I know I can switch back in. He hasn't shown protect, on anything else. So at least get a fake out left, you know, or an EQ or whatever, depending on where I'm at. And he does chilly reception back out into the Ivy Cudgel monster, the boogeyman. But I just doing some damage calcs, trying to get an idea as to what's going on. How do I make sure I win this game? He's consistently clicked something like the Ivy Cudgel. So I feel like now is the time to sack off the Tinkaton, expecting another Ivy Cudgel, yeah. And I don't want to get toxic or poisoned with my Serena at this point. So I felt like this was pretty free. He's going to be able to just go for another one. As I just click knockoff just in case, be able to get rid of something. So here with that down, he does show that he hasn't been locked in, which I kind of thought he was Scarf the whole time. So I'm just going to go out and Dragon Deez Nutz. And the reason being is because if he's not locked in, we know we can live a knockoff from this thing. And I'm going to click agility and just hope to God that that's the game, that he pops my weakness policy with that or the U-turn. Now granted, if I'm Scarfed, we speed tie, so he could be something like a little bit more bulky and I outspeed him because he just doubles out. He doesn't click U-turn, he doesn't click knockoff. He just goes hard out into the cloaking as I set up the agility. And from here, you know, I'm looking at damage calc. Stored power isn't going to do quite enough, so I'm actually going to bump this speed up. But I know that I've got the recover. The most I'm thinking he can do is something like the Sludge Bomb. He hasn't shown a Toxic, and I felt like you can't have Toxic with just Psychic or Sludge Bomb because I have the Tinkaton. So I click another agility trying to boost up my stored power as he gets the Sludge Bomb poison on the first one. And from here, it's really just me going through and being like, fuck. I know I'm going to outspeed everything on the team, but stored power, depending on his set, he's shown to be boots. We really aren't doing too much. Slowking Galar is just a bulky bitch. So I get to the plus 6 speed as he goes just for the damage, which, you know, makes sense. And from here, I've just pretty much got to recover stall him. I need to get myself to a point to where stored power can pick up a KO, and I'm not put in a position to where I'm not put into a position where he can revenge with something like the Punching Gloves or Adamant Aqua Jet in general in the back. So I'm just going to keep on clicking this recover. Keep on as he just keep on sludge bombing, which makes sense. And I'm just going to try to get back up to full. And I feel like if he gets nervous at any point, then we really win because we don't have to worry about that C word. And I'm not talking about those cunts, but you always got to worry about a cunt, you know. I'm about half here. I go for another recover because I know I'm going to be at full and then take the damage and the poison. Basically, I'm going to be at as much health as I can be with him staying in. So go for my recover as he pulls out and goes into mustard. And honestly, I think this is like best case scenario for me. Sorry, I'm feeling sick. But this just gives me the free stored power. We know we pick up the KO on this if he stays in. If he wants to switch back into the Slow King, we pick up the KO at that point. If he goes into Ivy Cudgel Man, we pick up the KO at that point. So him doing that really helped us secure our win, or so I thought. Because I see how like healthy Slow King Galar is when it comes back in, and then I see how little damage I did to it. So I've got to go for another stored power. That's just the way it is. So I go for it. And I pick up the KO, thank God. So Latios able to come through. I was able to get my agility stored power set off, but not the way I'd wanted. It picks up the 3-0 clean at the end. But I was hoping I could use that real early on and be able to pop. Now here, I am at 25 health. If he had the protect or the spiky shield with this thing, obviously that would have been an issue. And speaking of Novaxblader at the end of the game, he was saying something like, man, I threw because if Poison had picked up the KO at the end of the turn, if you killing Slow King Galar, I would have won because I outsped everything. And that's true, he did outspeed everything. But I only had T-spikes up and it was just one. So I'd have been able to go out into the Serena at the, the double down on the Latios. I would have been able to live an Ivy Cudgel from the health I was at, minus the crit. And it is a high crit ratio move. So it would have came down to something like that. But even a crit, I think I had a chance to live with my HP left. I click the triple axle. If I hit, I win. I could have clicked something like the U-turn to just ensure I don't miss. And then I could have went out into my Hitmonlee and picked up some fake out damage. Now, granted, he could have had the spiky shield. We could have, should have, would have. But at the end of the day, I think I played pretty well. The Magma Storm misses from Heatran kind of sucked balls. But, I told you I was going to Dragon Deez Nutz on his face. So that'll be it. We pick up 2 wins in our pool play. And I think I actually secure a seed in the tournament or a game in the tournament or whatever. I'm still going to try against Diet Tight because, I want that steak dinner. I want a good seed, and I want to hopefully find my way to the BBR regular tournament and fucking just, make friends. Isn't that what life's about? All right, man. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.